All right, Dan, first of all, welcome to Craft Cash Summit.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited about you being with us today. And I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and you're going to hopefully just dump a bunch of value in our laps and we're all going to walk away happy. Is that cool?
Sounds awesome to me, yeah.
Awesome, man. All right, so Dan, just real quick for the people, for the attendees who may not know you, may not have ever been to your amazing website and your killer YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just in 60 seconds, tell us about who you are specifically. Like, how did you get started in this?
All right, cool. Well, my name is Dan. I'm a 32-year-old hairy Welshman living in West Sussex in England. I'm a jewelry designer. I primarily work with unusual materials, and I specialize in making wedding rings mainly for men. How did I get started? That's a good question. I got started, a friend of mine introduced me to woodworking. This was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And we were kind of making things with reclaimed wood, so like pallets and bits of scaffolding and things. And we started making a few bits. I started getting inquiries from like the USA and Europe asking like, can you build me a coffee table? And I was like, I can, but it's a bit of a logistical nightmare to post a coffee table from the UK to America. So then I just thought, if I can make little things, then I can send them all over the world. And that's when I found a few people like making wooden rings, and I was just really keen to kind of get stuck in and have a go myself. And I literally fell down a rabbit hole from there. And I just passed my 5-year anniversary of having my Etsy shop as my full-time job. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, but everything is smooth sailing now, and I just get to make amazing wedding rings for people all over the world.
Cool, man. That's awesome. Cool. All right. So, I didn't realize as you were telling me, as you're sharing the story, Dan, so you're making most of your revenue from men's rings.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're kind of unisex, but yeah, like, I mean, I make quite manly stuff. So it's normally the
Right.
men. Normally the
All right.
men.
That's cool. So tell us really quickly, or tell the audience, what exactly do you do? Like day in and day out on these rings, what do you actually create?
Well, I kind of pride myself on making everything in-house. So I work with a lot of different materials. I started out with wood, so I use like it's called the bent wood process. So I make bent wood rings, and for that I use kind of my wood lathe and various other kind of hand tools for woodworking. And then I've also taught myself how to a basic silversmithing and goldsmithing techniques. So that's all, blow torches and jewelry swords and stuff, as well as making rings with Damascus steel. So that's a lot of machining on the metal lathe. So on a day-to-day basis, when I'm actually physically in the workshop making the actual products, I'm here kind of sweeping the floors and hoovering up the dust and making everything from scratch, basically. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Okay, great. So you got started, you started making the wood. At what point did you figure out like, okay, hey, I'm making this, it's got some value. What was the first point that you understood that there was value in what you were making? Now, it's usually like, did someone say, oh my gosh, that's such a cool ring, can you make one for me? Or like, what was the point where you went, oh my gosh, other people are going to pay me for this?
Yeah, pretty much. I think you just hit the nail on the head, really. I guess I actually can't remember my first like actual physical sale. I think it must have been like a friend of mine or something who was just like, oh, can I give you like the equivalent of like $35 or something for you to make one of these for me? And so it kind of snowballed from there. I put a few listings up on Etsy. And at that point, I sort of had no idea what I was doing. But then I remember Very specifically, there's like a turning point where I went to a search engine optimization kind of seminar in over in Brighton, which is a city quite close to me. And as soon as I learned a little bit of the SEO, I was able to get my rings shown up in search. And then, I remember there was a week where I was like, oh my God, I've sold 3 items this week. What's going on? And sort of that was the point where I was like, yeah, I think there's something to this. And snowballed from there, really.
So that's interesting. So you actually started monetizing these rings online before you sold them at an event or a show or something like that.
Yeah. I did sell some other things at craft fairs. Like I mentioned earlier, we got into kind of making things with reclaimed wood, like pallets and things like that. But I found that selling these high-end, pretty expensive rings at like local craft shows, that wasn't the right place to sell them. Where the best venue basically was online, where there are couples looking for like wedding and engagement rings.
Yeah, and I want to just kind of go into that for just a few seconds, because we'll talk later in the interview about sort of your specifics.
Yeah.
And some of your step-by-step processes. But that right there that you just said is so golden. I can't tell you how many people come to me and they're like, I'm a jeweler. I'm an experienced jeweler. I've been selling, in craft fairs and community fairs and, they're for, 10 years. And, I know how to make, really, really great stuff, but I'm selling a bunch of $20 items. And I'm like, well, tell me about your fair. And they're like, yeah, well, it's usually I set up a booth and I've got Boy Scouts selling, cakes and cupcakes right next to me. And then over here, I've got, the library, the, old lady librarian selling her macrame. And I'm like, whoa, and it's usually hard. Usually the most difficult time I have in helping crafters to make more money or artists to make more money is convincing them that they can actually sell things for hundreds of dollars. You can sell it for 3, 4, 5, 100. Speaking of that, so you kind of started the right way first. I mean, you're actually a rare species, to be honest. What is your most expensive item that you sell?
I think currently in my Etsy shop, the most expensive is £650, which is I'm not sure what that is in dollars. Must be about $1,000. But I sell things with gold in them. Anything with gold is going to be expensive. So like I sold something the other day to a girl in the US for £450, which again is probably $500 or $600. So these are high ticket items, I would say, and as far as like Etsy goes.
Yeah, and so have you seen? Let's see, in your Etsy right now, you have 302 sales. Have you?
No, I've got 1,350 sales.
I'm sorry. I'm
Don't take those 1,000 sales away from me.
Good catch. So you have 302 reviews. That's what that is, the 5-star reviews, and then you have 1,300 sales. And of these 1,350 sales, there's usually an 80-20 rule going on in all of our sales. Usually 20% of our sales are bringing about 80% of our top line revenue.
Yeah.
What have you seen? What is your price point that seems to be doing the best here?
Well, actually, you've got the featured items on Etsy. So you can see like my shop there. So that top line there of like the featured items, those first 2, the gray maple with rosewood, dinosaur bone and meteorite, that's wow. I'd say that's like, you talk about the 80-20 rule. Yeah, I probably get 80% of my revenue from that one ring. But probably shouldn't tell the world that, because inevitably some factory in China will start knocking it off.
Yeah, I
But no,
wouldn't. Man, as nice as these are, I would never worry about anybody in China knocking these off. I mean, those are gorgeous, handmade. That's
mhm.
amazing. Now the dinosaur, let's see, the dinosaur bone is not from this dinosaur, right?
No, that's. I really need to update those pictures. I mean, this is the thing. Like I've had that listing up for oh, 4 years or something, and I just don't even touch it because it like I don't want to ruin it. I'm scared to touch it in case in case it stops selling so well. So I just leave it like that basically. But yeah,
I think
that's sort of the number one seller. But I don't know. I think as a jewelry designer or an artisan, a crafty person in general, like you have to be willing to keep on evolving. And that's why I started learning how to machine stuff with like Damascus steel. Like you see a ring there, it's Kingwood with Damascus steel. I think that's down into the middle. I'm pointing
I
up my
see.
screen. You can't see what I'm pointing. But yeah, like those have been really good sellers as well.
Wow, wow,
Much
that's
higher
amazing.
price points. And yeah, they're much more like durable and they appeal to kind of a bit of a different market. So yeah, you just have to keep on evolving and learning new skills basically. And sort of over the last like 6 or 7 months, there's been a real trend to where a lot more of my revenue now is coming from rings made with like this Damascus steel material combined with like woods and things like that.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool. So, yeah, that's really amazing. And as for like going back to, I mean, you're just dropping so many great tips here. Going back to your tip about, once you get some pictures and a description locked into place, unless you're using a tool like Marmalade or one of the other tools that does, A/B split testing, if you're not doing anything that sophisticated, just like, hey, if it works and it's one of your top 20, man, why even mess with it? That's the
Yeah.
first point. The second point that I want to point out, and just, back up and make people aware of the wisdom in what Dan said is, these orders keep coming in, over and over and over, and Dan doesn't have to set up a table. He doesn't have to register for an event. He doesn't have to go pay for an event. And then he thinks he's got a premium spot. And then they tell him at the event that he doesn't have the premium spot. They put somebody else in, and, all the stuff. And I'm not knocking live events. I mean, a lot of people that do really, really well. I mean, like, if I gave you some numbers, you wouldn't believe me well at live events. But these are just, those are issues you have to handle at live events. Yes, there's a lot of money there, but they're the kind of issues. If you're the type of person, it sounds like you are, Dan, who likes to just, I like to be in my shop, I like to do my thing, and then I like to make the orders, and I don't want the drama of, sometimes the drama of live events. Etsy's kind of perfect.
Yeah. The main thing that kind of attracted me, because like we started out like me and a friend making woodworking things to sell at markets, and like you have to make so much stock in advance to actually take to the market. So you're actually physically taking all this stuff. You never know how much you're going to sell, and it's like you've at any given time you've got like thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars worth of stock like sitting in reserve, and that's all time investment from you as a creator. Whereas like with Etsy, I make one ring, take nice photos of it, put it up, and then I can just make those to order in anyone's kind of specific size or a width or whatever customization options they want. So I mean, I'm not sitting on like thousands of pounds worth of stock and wasted time. I can kind of like make things as I go.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's great. So speaking of being in your workshop, could we take a look around your workshop? Could you give us a little tour? I'm going to actually make you the. I'm going to make you the. I don't know if I need to make you the host. I think video is good enough. I don't know if you can move your camera around and just kind of show us like where the magic happens.
All right, I've just unplugged my laptop, my microphone unplug.
Cool.
Can you still hear me if I do that?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is the sound quality much worse?
No, it's great. No change.
All right. Cool. Yeah, let me show you around. So this is my new workshop. We moved in here back in April. So this is sort of my little workstation. I share this with another friend of mine who makes rings. So here we have, this is Eric, the metal lathe. This is Derek, the wood lathe. So this is where all of the machining and the turning happens. This is like my little work desk. You could tell I've been busy because, yeah, I mean, don't judge me on the state of my desk.
Right.
And then, yeah, we've got like storage. This is my friend Damien's little workspace, which is considerably more organized and cleaner than mine. And then over here, we've got like a little, this is like a little kind of silversmithing area over here. Sorry, this is quite hard to direct. There's my little silversmithing area. So yeah, I mean, we don't have a massive setup, but we're able to kind of crank out some, you know, really like nice quality, high-end kind of jewelry. So yeah, nothing fancy, but it's a workshop. It doesn't need to be fancy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for the tour. That's amazing. That you're cranking out that kind of revenue in the spot. You know, you're probably, you know, I mean, you're probably not paying much rent there, if any. You probably, I don't know if, you know, whatever deal you have. It almost looks like a rooftop. Is there a rooftop? Like a Germans call it a Dachboden.
Yeah, it's in a loft space, like above, there's like storage units around the back of a parade of shops, and we were up in a loft space. So, but this is so much nicer than where I was before. Before I used to work in a shed. So,
wow, that's awesome.
You know, this is a massive upgrade. We've got another spare room at the back as well, which we've kind of turned into a little sort of chill out area. So yeah, it's great. It's a cool place to come and create stuff. And obviously we've got all the space we need to fit all of our tools. And yeah, I've been able to kind of make YouTube videos and stuff in here. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool place.
Great. So let's talk about that kind of gets to another point, which is tell us a little bit about your website, and we'll talk a little bit later and, you know, some step-by-step details. But so you started with your Etsy shop, you started selling rings, you're making orders, you've got a workshop, you're fulfilling these orders, you're starting to make some money. At what point did you decide to kind of step laterally to the side and build this full-fledged website?
I think I did it like pretty much straight away, I think.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the best looking website, but I sort of like cobbled it together myself on WordPress. I just bought like a little like a WordPress template, and I just thought I'll just put something together and just have like a little sort of splash page where I can do a bit of blogging, or, you know, put up like little videos and things and just direct people to the various different things that I do. Honestly, I don't really do a lot of work actually on my website right now, which is hopefully going to change. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think it looks acceptable?
I actually think it's fantastic. I mean, it really highlights the work, and I mean, without going too geeky on, you know, site conversion and that kind of stuff. I think the padding and the white space around really highlights your work, and you've got these, you know, big videos here. You're obviously, that's obviously one of your strengths, and we'll go to your YouTube channel in just a second. But I love it.
Oh, cool. Job done then. I'll leave it.
Yeah, seriously, I would not touch it. I think it looks, you know, super progressive and simple, and it really, you know, your rings, I think, to me as an outsider, you know, they're very unique, and they look handmade, which thank God, because Etsy is just a great place. If, you know, if your stuff looks handmade, I think it's easier to get conversions, because there's so much expectation on Etsy that things are handmade. And so, and I know there's, you know, there are a lot of people there who sell stuff that aren't handmade, and that confuses people who are going there to buy for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's the fact that your stuff looks so handmade, I think is is a huge benefit in your conversion. But so my question is, so are you trying to funnel your buyers to your website in certain ways? Like tell us about, when do you funnel people to your Etsy shop? And I'm assuming Etsy is just bringing you a lot of organic traffic. When do you actually use your website for conversion, or do you at all?
I'll be honest, I kind of don't at all at the moment. What I tend to do, this without going too deep right now, I mainly use Instagram as like my way of funneling shoppers for rings to my Etsy shop. So you'll see, like, in my little bio, right at the bottom, there's just a big thing that says shop link here, Etsy.com, Soprano Woodcraft, whatever. And that just funnels people straight to the Etsy shop. The reason for that is because I think if someone is like looking to make a purchase, or looking to find out prices or more information on the products, I just think it's easier just to be able to send them to like one place. Just go here and you'll find the things that you need to know. As far as like the YouTube thing goes, it's quite strange, because the whole point of me making YouTube videos was that I wanted to kind of get more into, not necessarily coaching, but kind of teaching more of my craft. I'm building courses around kind of woodworking and jewelry design. And so I originally started the YouTube channel as a way to kind of build up an audience for that. But I thought I may as well put in my Etsy shop links as well. And I actually get a fair bit of traffic from YouTube, and people coming in with inquiries saying, I saw you make this Damascus steel ring on YouTube. Can you make me one? So it's actually worked out really well as a traffic source and a way to convert people into buyers on my Etsy shop as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. So the videos that you're doing, we'll talk a little bit more about the traffic and conversion on that here in the later. But the question I had right now was on your Instagram. So it looks like you're just posting. You finish a ring, you post it on Instagram, you move on. Is that pretty much what you're doing here? Is that the strategy?
Yeah. yeah. I mean, some people talk about like Instagram strategies and having a cohesive looking page and all this stuff. I'm like, to be honest, I just want this to be kind of like almost a bit of like a personal blog for me while I'm creating things. And
Cool.
I show a little bit of my life, like if I go on holiday or I do something particularly funny or interesting, whatever, I'll post it on there. But it's mainly like kind of like my day-to-day. If I finish something, or if I'm doing an interesting process, I'll just post a video or a picture. And then using stories as well. And yeah, it works great. I get inquiries come to Etsy, as well as DMs straight into my Instagram DMs as well, or emails. So yes, that's pretty much the place where I've been able to build up an audience and get the most traffic.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So yeah, I noticed you kind of mix it up with some of your pictures of your rings, and then some of your model shots here. Like, is this are we going to get to have a poster when you launch your course? Are we going to get a full-size wall poster of this?
No, it's so it is a freebie. You could get a.
It's a bonus, right? So you guys heard it. You guys heard it on Craft Cash Summit first. If in the future you go grab, and I would highly recommend grabbing Dan's course, this image here, we can get you a wall poster. Dan will get a wall poster for that upon request. Awesome. Cool. And that's okay with your publicist that you do that this image goes out in poster form? Your professional model publicist is fine with that?
That's just me. I am the publicist.
You're the publicist. That's awesome, man. Cool. All right. Well, that's a good start. What I want to do now is get into a little of the more tactical stuff, a little bit of the step-by-step stuff, like, how you're maybe a few tips and tricks on how you're generating traffic, a few tips and tricks, and what you're doing to sell, what you're doing to get more sales. In other words, your conversion. Some tips and tricks maybe on what you're doing on the customer service side. Like, you mentioned earlier that I think a big draw for these rings is they reach out to you and you can, make them, a little bit wider, a little bit narrower. You can size them, you're a jeweler. I mean, and so let's talk a little bit about that. I'll let you go ahead and start.